Hello, and welcome to another guide video for ARK Survival this time. ARK Survival Evolved this time. Anyway, so this is going to quickly, or sort of quickly, detail and explain how breeding works and how I think it's best that you can do it. There are three, maybe four different types of breeding things that you can do. There are normal dinosaurs that lay eggs. There's the mammals like the wolves, which have a pregnancy period that they have to go through. And then there are aquatic dinos like the megalodon or the mosasaur, stuff like that. Kind of involved in the aquatic dinos would be stuff like the frog, which lays an egg, but the egg does need to be in water, and then stuff like the tuso, which also lays an egg, but still needs to be in water. As far as that goes, we'll get to those at the end, but first to explain just how to do breeding. And I need to check this real quick. I'm going to cryopod you real quick for a moment, just so your timer doesn't continue, and then I will explain stuff. Alright, so when you're breeding something, you obviously need to have a male and a female of any dino. I did a bunch of berries, as you can see. There's 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 berries that I went through. Okay, I went through a lot more than that, but there's 10 of them right here. So if you're breeding just to breed because you want more of a dino, then you're good. You can just get a male and a female and just breed to your heart's content, and that's it. If you're breeding for mutations, like color mutations or stat mutations, or if you're breeding just to get a perfect version of whatever dino you're using, then this video is for you. So first off is that you want to tame just a bunch of whatever dino it is you're going to be breeding. As for berries, they have a total of 6 stats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. They have a total of 6 stats that can have points put into them. Like wild points, not level up points. So I'm on creative mode right now, so I can show this a little better. But if you see on the left, it says name, weight, and then base stats is health 29, stamina 27, oxygen 33, so on and so forth. That's how many points that this dino has put into each stat right after it got tamed. So each of those points can be transferred to whatever baby it has from breeding, and that's how you'll get something like this, which has the good melee stat from the mother, which was at 40, and then it has the good weight stat from the dad, which was at 42. So continuing on that way, you can do the same over here, get the good health stat from this male and the good stamina from this female, and move it on to just one dino. And then you can continue on and on and on until you eventually get these 2 perfect dinos that have the good stats in every stat from everything that you tamed. So this has really good... Oh, they apparently have oxygen too. I didn't know berries had oxygen. Anyway, that's not important. For berries specifically, I guess it's kind of important. For berries specifically, oxygen and movement speed are both counted as wasted stats. They'll both get levels put into those stats, like if they're wild, but they're not actual stats that you can have. Like if you look in its inventory, there's no oxygen stat here for it, so there's not really anything you can do there. If you look at this one, hold on, this one had 34 and 31 into oxygen and speed respectively. This one had 26 and 37. Food over here had 27 and 25, and so on and so forth. So when you are continuing on and trying to get all the way down, you want to get a male and a female, obviously, so you can continue breeding, and then you want to combine these 2. So with these 2 combined, we'll get this one down here, which only needs food, because it has HP, stamina, and weight and melee. So the only stat this one right here was missing was the food stat, which this one here ended up having. There, that's what I want. And then continuing with that, I bred HP and food here, 2 weight and melee, and that's how we got this one here. So then we can just breed these two together, and you'll eventually end up with the perfect dinos down here that you've been trying to get. This is mostly good just for PvP, or if you want to make breeding for mutations a bit easier, which I'll get to in just a moment. The other thing you can do is... No, that actually covers all that stuff. So that's just basic information on how you can do breeding. Eventually you'll get these 2 perfect dinos, and for hatching an egg, which I did not explain, is you need... Each egg will be different, like the fire wyvern, or just any wyvern egg, for example, needs to have a really high temperature for the egg to incubate, which you can accomplish that by just getting a bunch of campfires or a bunch of standing torches and putting them around the egg and lighting them up. That will increase the temperature around the egg, and it'll start incubating if you have a high enough temperature there. The other thing you can do is get a bunch of air conditioners. Air conditioners are probably the best thing you can do to incubate any egg. I have 10 air conditioners on this side, 10 on this side, and that incubates these eggs with no problem. You'll have to experiment on how many air conditioners you need, because just one air conditioner will not cut it for, I don't think, for anything. You'll need multiples of them. For something like a rock drake or a wyvern, you'll probably need more than what I have here. You'll need a lot more. Having the egg incubating inside of an enclosed structure will also help incubate it a little bit, but it helps a little bit, so I would recommend having something entirely closed off to incubate your dinos in. It also keep the babies safe from anything that's nearby that will try to eat them. And yeah, that's it. So for mammals, like these wolves here, I can set both of these to breed. If you're on console or Xbox or PlayStation, you'll either hold Y or triangle respectively. You'll go to behavior and you'll go to enable mating. And then if you see on the bottom of this box right here, it says ready to mate. So do the same thing for the other one here. And you'll see that they get the pulsing heart icon above their names, so that means they're mating. And as soon as they're done mating, the female here will get a new bar that says gestating. And since it's a mammal, it'll just go through the pregnancy period, and once that's done, the baby will be born. And then you can just claim it and just have it walk around. For sharks, which is what I'm using for this, same thing. I'm pretty sure sharks have a pregnancy period as well. Behavior, mating, and yeah. So these ones are breeding. Sharks will go through a pregnancy period. I think every aquatic dino minus the squid will go through a pregnancy. The squid will lay an egg. The frog will lay an egg. The Beelzebufo is what it's called. And to incubate those eggs, they need to be fully submerged in water to incubate. So that's all the basics of breeding covered. If you have any questions about that, just leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer it. Moving on though to how mutations work. So there's 2 important things that you need to know about mutations. Is that every dino, regardless of it is a berry like this, an Argentavis, a dodo bird, every dino has a total of 6 color zones that can be mutated. Now, not every dino has 6 color zones that are actually visible on it. I think the berry here only has 3 color zones. It has the belly here, the main body, that's the kind of green color here. It has the stripes that are the tan color, and then it has those spikes on top of its body. So that's the only 4 color zones that a baryonyx has. As for an Argentavis, all 6 color zones are used. I don't remember what all of them are. I know there's the wingtips, the wings, the head crest, the chest, the tail, and I don't remember. That might be all of them. I feel like I forgot to mention one. Oh, the feet. Anyway, so when you mutate a dino, it will mutate. It's guaranteed to mutate 1 color zone and 1 stat. The problem with that is that it can mutate a stat that's not in use on the dino. Like on a baryonyx, it could still mutate in oxygen, or it can mutate in movement speed, which you won't see that become available here at all. It'll just look completely normal. The color zone can also mutate in a color zone or a color region that's not visible on the specific dino. Like, the color zones that ARK uses is zone 0 to zone 5. So say the berry only uses zone 0 to zone 3, it can still mutate in 4 and 5, but because it doesn't use those, you won't see anything visible on the dino. So that's mutations. Oh, the other thing is that when stats mutate, if it's on a stat that's actually available on the dino, it always mutates by an increase of 2 points. There's no negative mutations, it's always going to be a positive mutation. So if one of these baryonyx, or if these baryonyx had a baby that mutated, it would mutate up to level 283, because it would get 2 levels, or 2 extra levels into one random stat. And then you can just keep going from there. If you wanted to breed like a super dino, whatever it was, and see this is about to fully gestate, and we have a baby wolf now that it just pooped out. Oh, and it had twins. That's a good example. Behavior, disable, thank you. So these are just the 2 baby wolves. You see that both of these wolves here are level 225, the babies are 243. That is because they're taking random stats from both pairs. They're not just perfect copies. They have a slightly higher chance, any baby you get has a slightly higher chance of mutating, or not mutating, of taking the parrot's higher stat. Like if one parrot had 39 points in health, the other had 32, there's a slightly higher chance it will take the 39 point health. It can still take the lower health, but it's just offset a little bit. So the shark should have had its baby by now. Or it's about to. It's about to in 30 seconds. But yeah, it's the same thing. I actually don't care about those. They're just going to die as soon as this video is done. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you look at these 2 perfect berries that I have, you can look at their stats if you want to pause the video real quick just to compare it. Both of them have perfectly identical stats, including their oxygen and movement speed. That is why they are the exact same level. And if I use this to show you, you can see 45, 39, 36, 41, 42, 40, and 37, and then it is the exact same thing here. And where I'm looking at is the base stats, health, stamina, oxygen, so on and so forth, up to movement speed. So these 2 are perfectly identical. They're actually perfectly identical in stats and in colors, which makes it... Hold on, I don't want you guys breeding again. And that shark is inside of the mother. What does a baby shark look like? I haven't actually seen one before. Oh, you're so tiny. You have disproportionately big eyes. And I just have a copy of one of the parents here, which that can happen too. You can just get copies of one of the parents. And since both of these parents here are the exact same, you'll get copies of them every time unless they mutate. The other things that I would recommend is, I'm going to throw you back out now because I'll be able to finish explaining that in a moment. The other things I would recommend you having when you're going to start breeding dinos is cryopods are going to be very useful, especially if you want to breed a dino. Oh, crap. But yeah, especially if you want to breed a dino, a cryopod will be more helpful than anything else. I'd recommend having some fridges too, so that if you just want to mass hatch like 100 babies, you can do that. Just store all the eggs inside a fridge. Cryo fridge, just so you can grow cryopods. And then I have a bunch of lights in here too. I'd recommend having as many ACs as you can afford to make. At minimum, I'd say start with 6 and then work your way up from there. You should be fine for most dinos with 6 air conditioning units. If you need more, you can always make more. Just make sure you have room in your breeding house or your hatchery or whatever it is. Make sure you have room to put down more air conditioners. You'll need a bunch of feeding troughs too. As soon as a baby hits the juvenile stage, you will be able to have them eat out of a feeding trough. While they're still in the baby stage, like this one says adolescent baryonyx, while it still says baby baryonyx, you have to manually put food into its inventory, and it will only eat from its inventory until it becomes a juvenile baryonyx in this case. That's really it. There's not really anything else that I can say. The other thing, which is mildly important, is that if you're playing on a PvP server, you can just hatch a bunch of babies, and then you can kill them. And that will give you a bunch of experience. And then baby dinos also drop premi. So I guess you could use that if you want to tame something. So the imprinting system works like this. Right now, it says that Baryonyx wants to go on a walk with you. If it says something like it wants kibble, you can cryopod it. And then I have to wait a couple seconds for the cryo sickness or the cryo cooldown to run out. Yeah, so it wanted a walk. If I throw it out now, it still wants a walk. That's not a good example. It has a chance to change what it wants to imprint though when you cryopod it and throw it back out. So keep that in mind. That is why I recommend having cryopods on you. Just to make sure you can fully imprint a dino. This Baryonyx, if I imprint it, will fully imprint right away. Come here. It's lucky that this one wants to go on a walk. If a dino wants to go on a walk for its imprint, it's completely random how long you have to walk it for the imprint to actually happen. It could be, they could take a step and then imprint, or I could end up walking him around this entire island here, and he still wouldn't imprint. So it's completely random. Just keep running around, running back and forth until you get the imprint. And then as you saw, this one got a full imprint just from the one. So that's good for me. That's about it though. There's not really anything else that I could do to explain breeding. It's all pretty simple. I think it's simple at least. If you have any questions, please just leave a comment and I'll do my very best to answer them to the best of my ability. You can also go on to the Dododex app or the website. I think they have a website. But I know there's a phone app called Dododex. It has all of the breeding times for every dino that's in the game right now. For the Baryonyx, the Rex, the Wolf, the Megalodon, everything. And then you can also update and edit the settings for if you're using boosted times to make breeding go by faster. It'll let you input those settings so that it matches up with whatever settings you actually have, so that your times, the times it displays, will be as accurate as possible. That's about all I got for you though. I hope this video was helpful to some of you. If you have any other questions, please just leave a comment with whatever they are, and I'll do my best to answer them. But that's it. If you did enjoy it, please like, comment, subscribe. The next ARK video next week will probably be just a mass taming video, because I have a lot of stuff to tame to get ready for bosses. Or to get ready for the spider boss at the very least. But yeah. So I will see you all next time. And goodbye.